Okay, so the spring season in boxing is starting to come together. We already know the biggest fight so far that's officially announced is between Canelo-Alvarez and Canelo-Jacobs. They're fighting in Vegas in May. That's going to be on DAZN. But heavyweight action, we've got two big fights that they're not official yet, but they're far enough in the process. They're far enough along, they're close enough to being officially announced where we can really start talking about them. And of course, that's the rematch between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. They had a great fight late last year, and they should fight a rematch probably in May as well. That could go to New York. It could go to Las Vegas. The venue and the date, everything's not official yet, but it's very, very far along in the process. Also, Anthony Joshua, AJ, him and Jarrell Big Baby Miller. That is very, very far along in the process, and that's probably going to be in early June in New York. That's definitely going to New York. Eddie Hearn, the whole reason he picked up Big Baby Miller a while back was to kind of use him as cannon fodder for AJ's eventual American debut, which he wanted to do in New York all along. Of course, Miller is from New York. Guys, before I go a little further, I know it's backwards because I'm shooting this in reverse selfie style, but up there, follow us on iTunes, Spreaker, YouTube, etc., etc., etc. Please find us there. Montero Unboxing, the Neutral Corner podcast. It's out every Monday, and it's posted everywhere podcasts are found. Okay, just had to get that self-plug in there. So I wanted to talk about these fights coming together, particularly the heavyweight fights, and what that means for the division, but also with all these fights. Really, all three of these are big fights, right? And they're all going to happen likely within a month of each other. What does this mean? Well, first, let's start with what it's going to cost for fans, what it means to you guys, particularly in the United States where these fights are taking place. You look at Wilder and Fury, that rematch. Obviously, that's going to Showtime pay-per-view. So you're going to have to shell out probably $85. That's usually what the pay-per-views run now. I know they say $75 for standard def, but who the hell has standard def anymore? It's $85. It's at least $80, right? But now on DAZN, really within a month, you're going to get Canelo-Jacobs, which no doubt would have been a pay-per-view fight years back. Even as far as last year, that would have been a pay-per-view fight. You're getting that for $10 for your $10 monthly subscription fee. And then the next month in June, you're getting AJ Miller, which maybe that wouldn't have been a pay-per-view. If that fight would have taken place, let's say over in the UK, maybe HBO or Showtime picks it up because those foreign fights, they're cheaper to pick up, but it would have been an afternoon broadcast. But that fight taking place in America very likely could have went to pay-per-view. Really, really could have. So that's another one you're getting for $10. So it's up to you guys to speak with your wallet. Now, a lot of you guys out there, if you're diehard boxing fans, you already subscribe to Showtime, you subscribe to DAZN. Of course, you get ESPN, but you pay for ESPN Plus, the app. You have all the apps, all the streaming platforms, all the networks, and you're going to pay all the money for all the pay-per-views. That's what you guys do. That's why you're boxing diehards. But if you are on a budget and you do have a choice, that's where it gets a little tough because you get one fight for $85 and then you get these other two fights for $20. And I want to talk real quickly about DAZN and why this fight's happening now. So Eddie Hearn, when he signed Jarrell Big Baby Miller, as I mentioned before, his whole plan with Miller, he doesn't see an elite level future heavyweight champion there. I don't think anybody with any real boxing knowledge does. But Miller has really good demographics and is perfect for AJ to make his American debut. They were going to kind of hold that, for a little while longer. They probably would have rather fought Dillian Whyte and Wembley, where they had a date scheduled they had a date held for this spring. They preferred Dillian Whyte because Whyte is a brand over in the UK, and that would have easily been a sellout. I mean, AJ sells out Wembley when he fights anybody, right? He's the biggest sports figure over in the UK. He's the second biggest brand in all of boxing globally behind Canelo-Alvarez. That's who they preferred. But DAZN, who is just getting started, has put up a ton of money. You look at their investment into Matchroom, their investment into Canelo-Alvarez, and some other platforms. other promoters, they've really shelled out a lot of money, and they're still trying to get subscribers. So they made a strong push to Hearn and his people to bring AJ to the USA, because they just, launched their USA streaming service last year, DAZN USA, and they're trying to get subscribers in this market. It's a huge sports market here in the United States. Of course, if you could tap into that, long term, you can make some real cash. So anyway, that is why this fight's happening in America now, right? That's the main reason why. DAZN is putting up the money for Hearn, and they kind of, not that they have all of the say, but they have a big part of the say. They have a big say in the say, if that makes any sense. And that's why you're getting AJ and Miller in the United States right now. But also, this works out for Eddie Hearn and Team AJ, because this gives them a chance to compete with Team Wilder directly in his market in the United States. Now, I mentioned the rematch between Wilder and Fury. That might go to New York. I don't know. New York's kind of busy in that time frame, so maybe they're going to go to Vegas now. I think that fight really makes a lot more sense in Vegas right now. But whether it happens in Vegas or New York, if it happens in May, which I think they're talking, I think mid to late May right now, man, they're almost going head to head, Team Wilder, and they've been negotiating with Team AJ for a while now. They're going to be going head to head in the same market within a month of each other. So that's going to be very telling in the negotiations. Now, this is all assuming, of course, that Deontay Wilder wins the rematch with Tyson Fury. That is not a guarantee by any means. If Tyson Fury wins, if you're Team AJ and Eddie Hearn, you're golden either way, because if Tyson Fury wins, you take that fight back to the UK and you do massive numbers over there. If Deontay Wilder wins, well, then you could start comparing gates. You're right. You could start comparing revenue. You could say, hey, here's how many people subscribed to DAZN in June 2019 just for this AJ fight. They're going to Madison Square Garden likely. Can they sell out the Garden? Can they do a big crowd there? All that matters, and they take that into the negotiations with Deontay Wilder, assuming Deontay Wilder wins. And yes, I'm talking as if AJ is going to mop the floor with Jarrell Miller. I'm not even mentioning him in the future, because I don't see Miller as an elite level heavyweight. He's a legit top 10 heavyweight right now. He's proven himself as a top 10 heavyweight, but not much more than that. He really hasn't even proven himself as a top 5 heavyweight right now. And quite frankly, he's not that deserving of this fight with AJ. I know the sanctioning bodies and everything have him lined up for it, but Dillian Whyte, you got to kind of feel for him, because he's earned the rematch with AJ. Here's the thing. Here's the consolation prize for him. Regardless of what happens with AJ and Miller and with Fury and Wilder, whatever happens in the spring, AJ is going to come back to the UK in the fall and fight Dillian Whyte then. So he gets his consolation prize. He's just got to wait 6 more months or so to get it, okay? But that's why this is really interesting to me, because this shows me that the plans, it's in the works that eventually we're going to get AJ and Wilder if Wilder beats Fury. If Fury beats Wilder, we already know Tyson Fury will fight anybody at any time. He's proven that before. He went on the road to fight Vladimir Klitschko, an all-time great heavyweight. He went on the road to fight Deontay Wilder here in the United States last year. And he's going to come back here this year to fight him again. So I have no doubt if Fury were to beat Wilder, Fury, his team, is going to want a fight with AJ next year. Will AJ's team be ready for that? I don't know. But so either way, the winner between Wilder and Fury, I think AJ and Hearn, they're in a good spot. But that's why this fight's coming to the USA. It's mostly because of the executives at DAZN, but it's also Hearn and his people wanting to get in this market and start building here so that they can take that to a negotiating table with Shelly Finkel and everybody that's involved with Deontay Wilder. He has like 1 million people in his team. But again, I go back to the fan impact. Look, guys, you bitched about pay-per-view for years, okay? And if there ever was a pay-per-view fight, on the schedule that makes sense, a rematch between Wilder and Fury, that makes sense as a pay-per-view fight. But a lot of PBC guys, and I'm not going to get into a big anti-PBC thing here, that's not what I want to do, but Man, they had this huge deal with Fox that was announced, this huge deal with Showtime. Both were really great deals, big wins for premier boxing champions, right? They signed those deals last year. But you had a pay-per-view in December between Wilder and Fury. Then you just had a pay-per-view between Pacquiao and Broner. And then you got another pay-per-view coming up between, between Spence and Garcia. Then after that, you're going to get another one between Fury and Wilder. So within 6 months, yeah, 6 months, you're getting 4 pay-per-views. You start doing the math, man, that's what, $320+ on top of your monthly Showtime subscription, which is, I don't know, what, $15 or something like that. On the other side of the street, you have DAZN. And again, I don't work for the DAZN. I'm not getting paid. I'm not trying to advertise for them. But guys, $10 a month. Now, their schedule's weak at the beginning of this year. They originally wanted to have some World Boxing Super Series action right now to kind of fill this void during this time. But there's, you know, I can't get into all the technicalities of it, but there are issues right now with the World Boxing Super Series related to funding. It will be worked out. It's being worked out. It's being sorted out, but it is causing delays. There was supposed to be action right now, kind of filling the void between the end of last year and this spring when things really heat up. Usually, you know, it's around Cinco de Mayo where things really get popping in the boxing game, right? Well, so DAZN is kind of hitting this little slump right now. And so that's tough. And I understand a lot of you guys out there paying that $10 a month, you might not be satisfied right now, okay? I understand that. But my question is, if you're paying for Showtime, are you satisfied? Are you any more satisfied than what you're getting at DAZN? Because every big fight that they have is going to freaking pay-per-view. I'm not trying to compete, you know, for these two entities. I'm just trying to let you guys know the reality of it. And Stephen Espinoza over at Showtime, I'm a fan of his. I think he's done a very good job. He cares about boxing. He's a network guy who actually loves boxing, and he's done a great job for Showtime. But if you follow him on Twitter, on social media, you have seen that dude go hard at DAZN recently. I mean, he's just been reaming them, really attacking them, and he's not the only network guy who's really been going after them. And certain media people who are very friendly with the PBC executives because they get paid by them essentially and post a lot of pro-PBC stuff and conveniently leave out some of the negative stuff. I think you guys know some of the writers I'm talking about, some of the American writers I'm talking about. You know, they have been going hard at DAZN as well. And I don't like seeing these network guys going in at each other. But when you see collectively a lot of the people, HBO is done, right? HBO is gone. But when you see some of the people at Showtime or some of the media sources related to them, because in a sense, they're kind of, you know, it's a few levels down. They're kind of paid by them and taken care of by them, going at DAZN. That tells me how much of a threat DAZN is. It's the same thing. You can't really attack ESPN Plus because ESPN is this massive platform. People at Showtime, they know they're not going away. They know Top Rank's not going away. So their deal with ESPN, ESPN Plus, they're not even trying to attack them yet. They have a little bit, but they're really going in hard at DAZN because right now, DAZN has just a fraction of the subscribers of all these other platforms I'm talking about. They're the new kids on the block. But they are a major threat. If DAZN takes off, if DAZN picks up over the next, I don't know, 18 to 24 months and starts picking up subscribers and picking up momentum, then Showtime might be out of the water 5 years from now. And I think Stephen Espinoza and those guys know that. And that's why they're going so hard at DAZN. At the same time, if DAZN implodes, and it's basically, you know, what happened to the PBC a few years back, their experiment buying time on television, that essentially blew up and they had to go right back to the old model. If DAZN blows up, it doesn't work out, man, you've got all that talent that they have signed right now, they become free agents. And Showtime can pick them up, Fox can pick, everyone can pick them up, right? So that's why so many people, even Aram and the guys at ESPN, you know, some of the people tied to ESPN have gone at DAZN a little bit. That's why they're so just attacking those guys, because they want that shit to blow up. If it doesn't blow up and it takes off, it really could be the future of boxing, at least in the United States. Think about it this way. if you had just, I don't know, 500,000 subscribers on DAZN paying $10 a month, you think about the revenue that generates annually and the paydays that could go out to some of the fighters. Keep in mind too, DAZN USA, that's just an American thing, right? So when you have Canelo Alvarez, let's say, fighting in the United States against Rocky Fielding, both of those fighters are foreign. They're not American. So there's foreign TV money that they're getting on the back end. So yeah, you get DAZN, that's just an American thing. You're getting a certain amount of money from there. We already know, like Canelo Alvarez is guaranteed a certain amount of money by DAZN. That doesn't take into account the money he's getting from Mexico, all the sponsorship money and all that kind of stuff, right? The merchandising sales, all that kind of stuff. So it's only a fraction of the money, the payday that is available to the fighters. So if it really, really takes off over the next few years, that's why I say it's a major threat to Showtime in other places, because they have to go to pay-per-view to get the money to pay all these fighters right now. That's the only platform they have, because other than pay-per-view, they simply don't have the revenue right now from advertisements and everything else to afford to pay for everybody. DAZN really doesn't either. DAZN doesn't have this shit at all. They're just making this massive investment on the front end, hoping that on the back end, it starts to pay off. We shall see. Anyway, wanted to rant on that real quick, guys, before, of course, the Neutral Corner. Monday, it's out every Monday. I'll talk about this stuff more in detail. Hopefully we get some damn announcements, right? I thought last week we were going to get an AJ Dillian Whyte announcement, but then I think at the last second, DAZN really, like I said, the executives there really pushed to get that fight with Miller. And of course, they were negotiating with both Miller and Whyte. And it was ultimately the executives at DAZN that won out, that said, man, we need AJ in America. We need to start building subscribers. We are bleeding money right now. Okay, so that's why it happened. You know, money talks at the end, and these networks shelling out all this money, they are the ones in control at the end of the day. They get their way. So we'll see what happens with all this. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Follow me. Follow the podcast, The Neutral Corner, on all those platforms up there. And if you guys leave any good questions here in the comments section, I'll address them this week on The Neutral Corner. I think it's episode 157 of TNC. If you guys aren't following the podcast yet, you're missing out, because it's the realest talk in boxing, and it's going to blow up this year. We've got big things planned. All right, guys, I'll see you at the fights. Go Rams.